everyone. It is me, Gary, back with our second series of Cuppa Chat. And I am very, very excited to be kicking off this brand new series with our first special guest. So, special guest, introduce yourself.
Hello there, my name is Stewart McCheyne, and I have worked in several pantos, most recently in the Tunbridge Wells Assembly Hall Theatre, playing the comic in various pantomimes. So that, yeah, hello.
Hello, Stuart. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we are very, very excited to have you on board with us and having a bit of a chat with us today because, as you say, you are getting a very good name for yourself around in the panto world, which is really nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's lovely to hear.
And, Stuart, let's start right at the beginning. And before we get onto the panto chat, it's very important that we do have a chat about what is your favorite cuppa drink before we start. Now, as everyone knows, I like to bring a different mug each week. I've got my B mug with me today. Oh, you can't see it, it's disappearing. There we go. There's the B mug.
I can see it, yes.
I've just gone for blackcurrant because I'm boring. I'm not a big fan of hot drinks. So, Stuart, what's in your cup if you...
Today I'm rocking a camping cup because I'm a bit lazy. I've just come back from a certain festival called Glastonbury, and I think these were the ones that were out in the on the washing up rack there. So I just grabbed this one, and then this is a lovely flat white style coffee because I'm a bit of a coffee geek. So I've got a nice little machine over there that I make coffee, take it quite seriously, but you can't beat a little bit of squash. That's absolutely fine.
There you go, you see. I'm not a fan of coffee, but as long as you're enjoying it, as long as it wakes you up and gets you going,
I'm having a great time. By the end of the interview, I'll be buzzing.
It'll be on the walls. It'll be playing all the guitars in the background at once.
I know, right?
That's amazing. Amazing setup.
Quite a collection.
Stuart, let's talk about music style because we don't want to skip the elephant in the room that you are known for your musical talents as such away from pantos.
Yes.
But does that come into the panto world, that sort of experience?
It can do, yeah, if they let me. I've done a few where I've got the guitar out or a piano or something out. My first panto at Tunbridge Wells, we had a running gag that I wanted to be in a band, I wanted to be a musician. That was like sort of part of my arc, as it were. And then eventually I finally get the guitar on like the finale number. It was a Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, but it was set in a fair, so it was Living at the Fair, of course. And I got to do the big Bon Jovi guitar solo, so that was quite fun. But yeah, I've played it in a few things. I did a Robin Hood in Gravesend, and I played guitar in that at the end again. And I've done a few other bits and bobs. Can't remember. But yeah, every so often, if they let me, I'll play guitar at a pantomime or piano or drums or basically whatever they've got.
Yeah, and I mean, that's nice because I always think, especially nowadays, a lot of pantomimes are now going to pre-recorded tracks, pre-recorded songs, and actually we lose the excitement of the live music side of it.
I mean, Tunbridge Wells do have a band, and I actually felt sorry for the poor man playing guitar because I nicked his great big guitar solo moment. So he's down in the pit just playing the chords, probably looking up at me like, oh, for goodness sake.
Look,
but I asked ages ago, and it was set. Maybe it wasn't clear to him that I was going to get to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair though, and I was going to say, that's part of it as well, that the band is a great asset to have in a panto to start with. But sometimes, depending on where you're sitting, you don't get to see the musicians, obviously. You can just see the top of their heads. So if you're then on stage and we see it live, brownie point.
And then everyone thinks you're miming. Which is...
Have people come to you afterwards saying that, oh, that was great miming?
Yeah.
I'm shocked. Do people not know your talent?
They've done it. I've done several actor musician shows, and the whole thing is we're billing them as big actor musician shows, and sure enough, almost certainly there'll be someone who goes, so you're all miming that, right? That's, yeah, like, yep.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great, isn't it? 3 years of training. No.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Stuart, let's go back to where Panto began for you. Can you tell us a bit how you got into the Panto world? Because I love hearing, and we do with our Cuppa Chat series, we love hearing how people ended up being into Panto. Because some people fall into it, some people that was their target. How did it go for you?
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a target. It was always something I was interested in doing because I like humor and I like silliness, slapstick, all that stuff. I'll text my boxes and everything like that. I mean, so I'm from the middle of nowhere in Scotland, like tiny, tiny little place, tiny village on the west coast of Scotland in Argyll. So we didn't maybe have as many opportunities at some, like I live down south nowadays and I see lots of kids in these big performing kind of schools in the weekends and all these things like that. We didn't have as much of that. We had a couple of clubs run by some very, very important women in the community who were interested in theatre and stuff like that. And I guess we would have done some kind of a Christmassy show this is when I was very young. I'm talking sort of 8, 9, 10 or something like that. And even before that, I was performing. I used to sing in Gaelic choirs. So, and they had an element of sort of silliness as well with some of them. Yeah, so I'd have done some pantos back then. I think I was in a production of Robin Hood when I was about, I don't know, 12 or something like that. But eventually I went to study in Glasgow and I did more and more silly sort of musicals and plays there. And I guess that kind of had a panto-y feel to it. I did Moby Dick the musical, which is hilarious. And quite panto-esque actually as well. And then eventually I went to drama school in London and all that. And for a couple of years, I didn't really go near any pantos, but I still maybe did plays and musicals that had humour in it. So when I finally got a chance to do a panto, I was really chuffed. My first panto, big panto professionally, was up in Motherwell. And it was Peter Pan, and I was Peter Pan. And that was great. And I liked Peter Pan as a lead because he's a bit cheeky and he's a bit funny. So you can kind of get into the comedy side. Sometimes, no offense to people who perform as princes and things like that, but sometimes they can be, I don't know, a wee bit dry or not quite. I like the silly and the slapstick and the whatever. So Peter Pan's a really nice role for that sort of bridging the gap of being cheeky and funny, but also having the lead sort of stuff to do, the songs and all that and the plot. But then it took me a while again to go back into it. I did a nice wee show up in Norwich called My First Panto with a friend of mine who wrote it and the music for it, that is. And that was nice. And I got to play more of the comedy part and I thought, oh, I like this. So eventually I bumped into some local producers and I was like, hello, what you up to? And I did Robin Hood. And this was great Robin Hood because it was, again, similar to Peter Pan. He was just as daft as the rest, but he was much more camp and raucous and a bit sort of Flashheart from Blackadder, you know. Hello, I say, haha. Like everything was, you know, really fun and outrageous. But alas, that was COVID. So we were all set to do it. It was in Tunbridge at the EM Forster Theatre, and then COVID happened. So we filmed it. Which was nice, and it went out to people. But then I got to do it again the following year when everything opened up again up in Gravesend. And that was very silly and very fun. And I was with the wonderful Mama G.
Yes, a friend of ours on the Panto archive.
Yeah, exactly. So Mama G was our dame, and that was great. Really, really good person to work with. And then I was sort of like, I really like the silly stuff. Watching the comic up there and all that, I really enjoyed that. And as I said, because Robin Hood was funny as well. So when I found out the Tunbridge Wells tender changed to Little Wolf, who now run it, I wrote to them right away. I was like, hello, my name is Stuart, and I am local, and this is what I can do, and I like being silly, you know, please. So I had a wee audition, and now I've done 3 for them. As the comic. And me and the dame there, James Peake, who's from up in Derby originally, we're becoming a bit of a double act, which is lovely. It's really, really nice to be confident with someone to just work off, and you know exactly how he's going to do what, and he knows what I'm going to do. So that's a really nice relationship.
Yeah, it is so important having that, especially comic and Dane relationship, as you say, and the audience come back each year because they want to see what the next level is you're going to push it to. I think as well.
I agree with that.
What's the difference then? Because I've done Robin Hood before, and I'm doing Peter Pan for the first time this year, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that sort of dynamic of Peter. But what do you think is the difference with sort of traditional, I should say, of the Robin Hood story and character, and then you're saying about that cheeky side of it? Because when I did it, it was a bit of more of a, oh yes, I'm the hero, as you say, more of a princey role. Do you think that was a good setup for the character of Robin Hood?
Yeah, so the way we played it, he had a wee element of that, the kind of cockiness and all that, but I think we were much closer to the sort of Monty Python-esque like farce of it all. The company I work with, Wicked Productions, they're quite local to Kent. They do a couple in the area. Their original songs, and they're incredible songs actually, which is quite a risk as well, I think, because sometimes original songs in pantomime don't go down as well because people just want to clap their hands to 80s cheesy pop, but their songs were so good. It probably could be a musical in its own right if they wanted to take it elsewhere. Regardless of the Christmassy Panto-y vibe, it's just quite a fun show. So it had this macho-ness that made it really daft, and I think that's what was really fun about his part, and this like outrageous laughter, and as I said, I think Flash Heart's a good reference. That's sort of like, haha, where are you? Come here, kiss the thing, punch someone. Like it was all very in your face. It wasn't like smarmy, like I'm a hero. Hello. It was very heightened and daft, and that was a joy to play. We sung a song about merry men wearing tights because that's what real men do, and it was just really, really silly. We had because it was COVID, we had a song that the love song that we couldn't get too close, but we're desperate to. If I could, I would sanitize my heart, and like had the most ridiculous lines. So there was plenty of humor for me in that Robin Hood. I have seen it. Look, maybe the way you're describing it was maybe a bit more straight, and I don't know. It's maybe not as fun because that's part of the joy of Robin Hood is a bunch of guys running about in tights and trying to be like these big macho heroes. But actually, they're just.
Yeah, and I mean, we are very lucky. I play Dame near enough all the time now. You're obviously going down the comic route now. We are very lucky because we actually get the fun, and you do forget sometimes with the straight characters. It is a bit boring, and that's nothing against what people.
No offense, anyone who does that all the time. I agree.
Everyone, they do a fantastic job, and they have fantastic voices as well. A lot of them, same with princesses. But we do get the fun, don't we? Do you think?
Oh man, the stuff that I've ended up doing, and they're all in the wings watching it, absolutely wetting themselves because me and James are in some sort of pickle on stage, usually with the villain or something like that, and we're covered in something, and there's slipping going on, and you got some poor stooge up from the audience, like they don't get as much as that until it falls apart. But I love that because some of these people I've worked with, they're so good. Like the talent that some of these princes and princess kind of roles the actors have, they can sing like I'm not, it's unnatural. But the breaking point's really interesting with them because they'll crack in a way that it's not just corpsing, like they'll genuinely lose it, and that's wonderful to kind of try and get a wee bit of that out. Especially when things go wrong.
Do you have anything that you try and do to them then to crack them? I want the secrets. I want the goss on Cuppa Chat. Come on,
not deliberately. Not deliberately. You just maybe if it's more like an in joke in that sense, like if something that that's going to wind them up, you just have to look at them and you go, "Oh, that's them. They're away." Yeah. The power to make someone fold just by looking at them from this, and that's it, because they know that something or whatever. But no, I don't do it like, I don't have a thing like, right, let's get them with a whatever. But yeah, no, it's just a joy. It's just a joy. And especially when you're working with someone who's funny like James Peake, the Dane. Yeah, we can get everyone into all sorts of problems on stage.
Have you ever got yourself in a problem that you're like, how are we going to get out of this now? Have you ever gone, that was too far? You know, is it we live in a very, you know, we've spoke about on Cuppa Chat before, we live in a very different world to where Panto was maybe 10 years ago, even before COVID. And you have to be a bit careful what you're saying.
Yeah,
and
I think you've got to be clever with where you go. I think you've got to be clever with where you go. And I think, especially with Tunbridge Wells, we try to always aim high. We don't try to take like the low road. I think I work with some pantos and they are like, oh God, you're right on the line there. Like, oof, like that's incredible. I cannot believe you're getting away with that, but fine. Whereas the ones we do are a wee bit safer. But like, yeah, you have moments. But no, we've never been too like some of the lines are brilliant, though, like especially like the ad-libby stuff, talking to people in the audience. I mean, one of the belters, it's terrible, but it's like, you know, oh, hello, what's your name? Gary. Where are you from? Kent. What did you just call me? Absolutely floored me one night. Like, so I was like, oh my God, like, can you say that? It was beautiful. But yeah, I mean, that, as I said, there's some pantos get away with it. It's pretty dirty, pretty filthy, or pretty like, oh, I don't know where you're going with this stuff, but you know.
And obviously, we have the other extreme where people want to go to that. With the adult pantos, we're seeing a lot more of them nowadays. Is that something that you've tipped your toes into or want to?
No, not really. I don't know if I wouldn't, maybe wouldn't say no, but I just, I can't, it is a bit the families for me. And obviously because of a lot of my stuff with kids, like working with in kids telly and the band and all that, like I'd probably, it probably wouldn't sit well with me. Well, not yet anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
And also like, I'm the silly one sort of for kids, I feel. The Dame's the silly one for the adults, and every so often there's a wee bit of a crossover. But I think, especially the way we're sort of directed in Tunbridge Wells, like I'm very much like I can flail about in the floor for 5 minutes and everyone's laughing.
Yeah.
And you know, and the Dame will just look at me like, "Get up," you know, and so there's two kind of humors. The kids think I'm being funny because I'm just jumping about the floor like a maniac, and the adults think I'm funny because they're looking at the Dame, looking at me with like hatred. Like, you know? So I think I am. I'd worry to go down the too adulty stuff. I love an innuendo. Don't get me wrong. Everything's fun and games and all that. But I'd probably steer clear of it for a wee while yet.
Stuart, do you ever sort of wake up though one morning, maybe a school show? I don't ever know what your schedule is, and I mean, I was lucky and did some stuff with Dick and Dom not so long ago, and they used to say sometimes you just used to go, "What am I doing?" You know, do you ever have those moments at 10 o'clock in the morning and go, "Why have I chosen this as a career?"
All the time. We actually put it into the show last year because it's kind of like a running joke of mine. Like, because and also with the Oddsocks stuff, which I know we haven't really spoke about yet, but I'm like a wacky character in that, you know, Kelsey. But so and we're constantly like, we'll be in the middle of doing something and we'll be look at each other and we'll say things like, "We've been through so much," or like, you know. So I think I used to always say in the Panto, I'd be in the middle of doing something really stupid, and at the time I was 34, and I just look at everyone and go, "I'm a 34-year-old man," and like, you know. The Dame actually put it in the show because it was really funny. I think it was a moment where I flail about in the floor or do something silly like that for ages and ages and ages, and he just looked at me and went, "You're a 34-year-old man. Get up." And everyone thought it was hysterical. So it actually became a line in the show.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it is. It's like 10 in the morning, and you look at each other going, "What am I doing?" I'm about to get like strung up, wearing wellies, covered in slosh, like, you know, singing a song, like my trousers fall down, whatever it is, like, and you're just like, what happened? Another one I always say is like, I used to move people, you know, I used to do Shakespeare and things like that. And people would go, that was brilliant. That really moved me, you know, like, you know, you lost all your children, you know, Macbeth and Macduff, all my pretty chickens in one film. You used to move me on stage, and now I'm up there farting and running about and cartwheeling and like, what's happened to me?
It is crazy when you, as you say, when you think about everyone who's, you know, been on those stages in Panto, has gone through so much training, so many different fantastic skills. And as you say, you're reacting to farting jokes or whatever, you know, it's just crazy. Stewart, one of the things I was really looking forward to speaking to you about today was that link, and you've kind of alluded to it a little bit with your children's telly stuff, with the Oddsocks, and then what it brings into Panto. Do you think it brings another level of, you know, maybe having that billing with you from the television on it, such? Does it come with a bit more of an added pressure where the kids go, oh, it's him, I know him, as such? You know, how does that work?
Do you know what? No, yeah, I think it does a little bit, but you know, I think I got the Panto here before it was maybe as big as it was. I mean, it was obviously brewing, but I think it's obviously got bigger. So I feel like I kind of feel like I'm in a weird position where I don't think I just got the job because I've been on telly. Whereas other people, it feels very much like they're famous from the telly or whatever. It's like I'm like a sort of like, you know, but no, there is an element. Like we'll do a show and there'll be kids in Oddsocks or wearing Oddsocks t-shirts and all that. So it is starting to happen, you know. And because I've lived where I live for so long, I think a lot of people come and see me just because they know me from being in town. And I've worked in some schools locally. I've taught guitar and piano locally, things like that. I've worked in some drama groups and things like that. So I think there's also an element of that, like local sort of fame, if you could call it that. But so some of it is like it's not actually got nothing to do with the fact that I've been on telly. It's just the fact that I'm kind of well known in town. But no, there is an element. I think especially when you work with some people that you've not worked with before, maybe some graduates and things like that who obviously would not have watched me on telly, and they maybe just think I'm similar to them and we're just working actors, which obviously we are, but then they kind of forget, and then I get a big reaction. They go, oh yeah, I kind of forget you're on telly and stuff, aren't you? Like that's bizarre. Like they kind of, which is obviously a good thing as well, because I don't want to have this air of superiority in that sense. But
well, I was just about to say that is a good thing, that, you know, they feel relaxed at least around you, because you know, sometimes you can work with people that are the bill, you know, and you're a bit like, oh, I don't want to talk to you as such, you know, which is a shame sometimes, but at least people are feeling, you know, confident around you. And
well, I try and have fun, you know,
and that's
I try
the
and make
main
everyone
thing.
enjoy their experience, you know, because also it's better, I think weirdly as well, when you work in a venue for a while, you maybe feel like you're a wee bit protective of the venue at times as well, and the sort of company, because you feel like you've kind of become part of the company, and even though obviously they're employing you or whatever, you still sort of feel like. So I think you want to, especially with like maybe some dancers or like the princes and princesses, they tend to be fairly fresh actors. You kind of want to be like, oh, this is good, come, you know, and this is what we're like, and welcome to the gang. And so maybe there's a responsibility there as well, as being like someone who's meant to know what they're doing because they're on telly.
Yeah.
Like,
it comes with a little bit of an air of responsibility as such with it. Stuart, can you tell us, because we're filming this in July, can you tell us what's coming up this year? Are you announced yet, or is it still secret?
Well, there's a wee bit of stuff going on. I mean, there's still definitely going to be some projects coming up with the Oddsocks. Not much I can say too much with yet, apparently, only because it's not been announced. It's not like, you know, we'll try and do as much as possible with the Oddsocks. As I said, I'm just back from Glastonbury. There'll be a few more gigs coming up, and obviously Panto, and then we're going to go to Australia with the Oddsocks as well, which is really exciting. We're going to tour Australia because we're on telly over there now. So hopefully people come and watch us in Australia. But yeah, there's definitely a few other projects coming up with the Oddsocks, and yeah, that'll be great. I worry that people might not know. So I'm in this ridiculous kids TV rock band, you know, and it's like it started off just as a band, and now it's become a sitcom, and it's we're trying to take over the world with our, you know, our wacky music and good moral messages. Yeah, it's good fun. It's a lot of fun.
It is good fun, and I mean, I've got a little one myself, so we watch all the brand in question as such. And,
have you?
Yeah, we really enjoy it, and we go to Alton Towers as well to enjoy CBeebies
the
Land
TV stuff
like that. Yeah, it's good fun, as you say. It's really nice though to talk to someone who's actually like, yeah, I'm happy to talk about everything as well, because sometimes you speak to people and they've got, you know, as you say, that build background as they have in Panto, and they're like, I don't want to talk about it, you know, I want to just talk about something different, which is really nice then that you're really open about both, actually, which is
just great. I'll try my best if I can talk about it, and yeah, it's grand. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's like something I never really thought I would do with the Oddsock stuff. It was just an audition for a few gigs. We've potentially tried to get on telly, but the initial audition was Andy wants to be in a band. We've got 5 gigs, boom, and then it's become, you know, that was in 2017. So it's been going quite a wee while now, you know. And yeah, there's elements of Panto in that, and I think that's quite good. So when we do a live show, obviously it's like a live rock concert, but there's little sketches in between. And especially with my character being the sort of wacky comic sidekick. Basically like what I do in Panto. So there's a fair amount of like slapstick and all that stuff. And our first actual theatre tour was, well, the first one I did properly was directed by Ian Loughlin, who's Coventry's Dame and writer and things like that. So I think he definitely flavoured it with some Panto gags and things like that as well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to do, and hopefully it keeps going.
And I suppose, you know, because it's something that's so recognised and enjoyed by people from all generations, actually taking those key workings of Panto and adding it to a show, to children's theatre nowadays. You know, I can think of other CBeebies shows that I'm like, there's Panto stuff in that. You know, actually it does work because it's what people like. It's what people enjoy over the years.
Yeah, we know it works, you know. Love a bit of slapstick, love a bit of, you know, silly peril, lots of call and response, lots of, all these things work. And yeah, you're right. And it pops up more and more in these kind of shows because, we know it works. And these people are really good at it, you know, because we work with kids and you get used to like how, you know, exactly, like sometimes with some of these scripts, you just thought there's a bit of business and you know, it's like, right, okay, we're going to cut it. Couple of Panto jokes, that type thing in there. Obviously try and make it fresh and make it more like more current and more suited to what's going on. But ultimately, it'll be very similar to a classic Panto trope. I mean, what's your favourite classic Panto bit? What do you like doing?
I am a big fan of the 12 Days of Christmas when it's a Christmas one. You know, I'm all that old school. I like If I Was Not Upon the Stage. I like when you get characters that come together that you don't maybe get a see. You know, like last Christmas I was an ugly sister, so we spent a lot of time with Cinderella and so on and Dandini, but we didn't get really any time with the fairy, and we had the fairy then that came and got involved in that, even if it was just from a backstage point of view. It was just a moment where the whole cast came together and the audience come together at the same time.
12 Days of Christmas is great. Did the villain slip or anything like that?
We had Dandini going through the we had the drop of the cloth go down, and brilliant. My wig got taken off and slapped off my head, so there's just me running around in a bull wig.
That was the first time it's ever happened?
Everyone thought it was the first time it's ever happened. I'm sorry,
it's one of my favourite things.
Not the first time.
Oh no, I don't tell them. I love it. It's one of my favorite. I mean, when I did Peter Pan, they did the 12 Days of Christmas, and Captain Hook would slip when it got faster and faster in chaos. There's toilet rolls everywhere, whatever. Captain Hook slipped, and without fail, almost every single time I was out, maybe in, I don't know, Tesco or Asda or whatever, getting my shopping, and the wee women come up to you like, oh, what's that wee Peter Pan? Oh, it was great. Oh, I tell you, I was there. Oh, when was I there? Oh, yeah, I was there the night Captain Hook fell over. And you're like, oh, I remember it well. Yeah, yeah. Oh, God, it was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they tell their friends, you're like,
Yeah, I have that with,
that's great.
I was there the night you lost your wig and it got, I'm like,
yeah, I know. But that's great. That means it's convincing, and
that's what I quite like, is those moments where everyone thinks they're getting something special out of it and we all come together and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Stuart, I've only got a few minutes left of you because it's flew
great.
by already. Which is, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Stuart, tell me about what you want next in your sort of Panto career, if that's the thing that you want. Is the target to be at the London Palladium someday, which is what some people want? Is it to become that comic at your home venue for years and years to come? Or, as I love to just chuck out because it's my favorite, do you want to become a dame one day?
Oh,
I love asking comics their sort of journey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've got the gravitas for a dame yet. I don't know. I think I need. If I was going to be a dame, I think I have to be a lot older. I don't know why. I just feel like I'm just a bit too like boyish and too wee or whatever. I don't know. No, I would definitely like maybe like an ugly sister or something. I think it'd be quite fun. I don't know if I've got. Yeah, I think I need to be a lot older to get away with being a dame. But what I want to do, yeah, I mean, Palladium thing obviously is wonderful and lovely, but actually, I quite like the sort of being like the local. The go-to whatever. That's more appealing. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be here, but if you find a venue or a company that you like and just work your way up, like my one of the boys I work with Andy in the band, he's like the local legend of Sheffield. Damien Williams, he's the Dame, and that's a great situation to be in. And he's not a big famous, whatever. He's just one of the best in the business, and they love him there. And yeah, so I quite like that kind of thing. And I've got a few friends who have similar sort of things going on with like the comic kind of roles. It's like, oh, you got to go see him because he's the comic of whatever venue. And yeah, so I'd quite like that. And it feels like that's starting to happen for me, and maybe in the next sort of 4 or 5 years, like it will be like, yeah, Stuart, and if James is still there, which I hope, it'd be like, yep, go see Stuart and James. They're really good together. They're basically like, double act, So I think that appeals to me more than necessarily the Palladium or whatever. Although obviously wouldn't say no, but likewise,
none of us would. But we're happy with what we're doing.
my preference is to become local comic sort of the act to kind of go and see. And maybe once I'm a bit older, do a dame or like a silly villain, because villains can have some brilliant stuff as well, and that also appeals to me. So I don't know. Watch this space. Let's see what happens.
This space. I love that. Watch this space. Stuart, last question. Is there any Panto that you've not done yet that you're like, I want to do that one? Is it because a lot of people, some of the older titles have gone now. So a few people say like Mother Goose and so on.
But that's usually like the dames,
like the dame one. Yeah, that's the one that a lot of dames want to do. But from maybe a comic point of view and from your own point of view, is there any title you'd like to do?
I know that's a good question. I'm trying to think of things that I'm like, oh, I'd love to do like that. Yeah. The main ones that I've always been interested with, I've sort of done, which is great.
I mean, I'm curious. Is it one you'd want to do again?
I did like Jack and the Beanstalk. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Beauty and the Beast was brilliant. It was really, really good, but it was much more magical and pretty and gorgeous. And for me and James, it felt very much like there's a plot going on, and then two maniacs come on and completely destroy the thing, and then go off again. And then there's a story, and then two maniacs. Whereas with Jack and the Beanstalk, what was nice about Jack and the Beanstalk is we were sort of in the plot as well, because I was like the silly brother and he was the mum. So that felt, even though Jack is the lead, we were like sort of in the story. We went on the adventure together, and we did a bit more with Jack. Whereas, yeah, as I said, with Beauty and the Beast, it felt very much we were quite separate to what else was going on. We could be doing a whole other show, just like, quick, wheel them on, be funny, right? Get them off again. But it was a lovely show, and that obviously I was very proud, because that was the one I got my Panto nomination for the best comic, and so it was a really nice show to be in. But you maybe felt a bit more disconnected with the plot. But yeah, probably. And we've got Aladdin coming up, so that will be really fun. We've got Aurea Duba in it as well, so that'll be great, because he's a good dancer. Great
Panto star as well now.
Exactly. So we'll see, because I've been keen to do an Aladdin, because I've not done one before, not had the chance. So we'll just hope that it'll work. I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
I'm sitting there thinking about any other Panto that I'd be like, oh, that'd be a good one. But
I mean, because you've got new titles as well now, like The Little Mermaid, Pinocchio. And he said, you got Pinocchio.
They fall in the bracket for me, like a Robin Hood, though. They feel like a sort of like you maybe don't necessarily have to do them at Christmas. Like they feel a bit more like it's just a lovely wee story. Yeah. You maybe miss the element of that Christmassy feel to them, but I don't know. Yeah, interesting. What about you? What do you want to do?
I've always wanted to do Peter Pan, so I've got my little wish coming true this year. That's always I secretly just want to fly in the air, which is not my role whatsoever, but I want to have a go at just flying in the air, if I'm completely honest.
Pretty sore. Have you not done it before?
No, I've never done it, and I've heard that before, Stuart, that it's quite painful, but I'm willing to take one for the team and just go flying in the air, and they can leave me up there if they want to until Christmas Eve.
I've flown a few times now. I flew last time because we had in Beauty and the Beast, we had an elaborate bell ringing routine, and I get caught in the ropes and end up in the rafters, and yeah, it was like uncovered in slosh and all the usual stuff. But yeah, Peter Pan, there's a lot of flying. Hopefully. It's a lot. Oh, I've got some fun stories about that. Anyway, that's for another one.
Hey, tell me again another time. Will you come back and join us again another time?
Yeah, of course, man. Of course.
Thank you, Stuart, so much for joining us. We are running out of time because I'm a cheapskate and don't pay for Zoom, so we only get 30 minutes for free. So that's easy. But if you want to learn more about Panto, go onto the website and you'll find more on there. Thank you, Stuart, so much.
Thank you. Take care of yourself, guys.